The Lady of Victory, Inuvik's #1 tourist attraction.
My impression is that it's probably #1. Most people that I've seen come to Inuvik want to see the Igloo Church, even if they only happen to have a few minutes of time left after a meeting or whatever it may be. I would say it's quite an attraction.
When the town of Inuvik was first being built, the people wanted a church that would be unique in structure and would appeal to the natives of this area. The shape of an igloo was approved and work began. Brother Larocque made a unique church with no blueprints at all. With the help of Father Adam, Father Franch, and Brother Larocque as foreman, they began filling in the foundation. Father Rayon says the foundation was also different than any other building because they didn't use pilings but used a gravel pad instead.
Well, we started the foundation in 1958, but we finished the church itself more during the winter 59-60. We kept on working during 2 years. And the first time we used it was at Easter 1960. But it was blessed only during the summer of 1960.
Mm-hmm. So it's been on concrete, not on pilings ever since?
Exactly, yeah, it's on concrete. Of course, the concrete is not inside the ground. I mean, we first put some gravel, about some places up to 7-8 feet thick, a big pad of gravel, and we put the concrete on top of the pad of gravel, you see, so way above the ground, not inside the ground like you do usually when you have concrete foundation. Mm-hmm. But Brother Larocque thought that it was not a good idea in Inuvik because the underground was frozen. Mm-hmm. He was afraid that it would not stand so well.
Mm-hmm. What type of equipment do you guys use?
Oh, we had our own equipment, like, of course, we had a concrete mixer, and we had forklifts, we were fairly well equipped to do the work, oh yes.
Mm-hmm. How many people worked on it?
I'm not too sure exactly, but we had Brother Larocque himself was, I would say, the foreman, the big head behind everything. And he had everything in his head, in fact, not so much on paper. And I would say some kind of a genius. And we had another good carpenter and a few native people helping on. But something interesting that perhaps you don't know is that he had no plan, and the government let us go ahead. Always they said, you will build something that makes sense. But after a year or two, they said, hey, perhaps you should give us a plan approved by an architect. We didn't have any, so the plans were made afterward by Father French and Brother Larocque. And the architect, when he looked at them, didn't understand too well, so he came with his engineer to look at them, and he was very satisfied. In fact, he said that the structure was probably too strong, in the sense that normally people wouldn't use such a strong structure for a building like this. They would probably use laminated beam instead of heavy beam like we did. But for us, it was probably less expensive to do it this way because the beams themselves were built by Brother Larocque alone during the winter. 58, 59, he had a workshop and he built each beam himself.
Was it volunteer work or the workers paid?
Yeah. But there was also some volunteers. The plumbing, heating, well, mostly heating, was done by a crew of plumbers who were working on other buildings in town. And they would do this during the evenings and during their day off.
How much did it cost?
Well, we paid for the material, but they didn't charge anything for the labor. That was a big saving.
Who paid for it?
Well, the building itself in those days, I believe, cost maybe $150,000, which is not really very much, but that was the cost of the material, and some of the labor had to be paid too.
Mona Thrasher, now a well-known artist, first began showing her talent on the walls of the Igloo church. At the age of 18, she brought her first painting, which was painted on lumber, to Father Adam. He asked her to paint the picture of Jesus knocking at the door on the top of the entrance door. Then he asked her to paint 2 others on the top of the 2 other entranceways. Father Rion says Father Adam thought they were pretty good, so he asked her to paint the Way of the Cross.
First, she brought him a painting she made, but it was quite simple, that one. It was painted by the number, you know. And Father Adam asked her to make a big one like that. That's one you see at the top of the back of the door over there. And that was the first one she made. Then Father Adam asked her to do those 2 other ones above the doors. And he thought it was pretty good, so he asked her after that to make a Way of the Cross. He gave her some sample of little pictures, you know. But as you can see, these paintings are made in the wall itself. It's part of the wall. It's not something that you put on the wall afterward. It's, and that these paintings actually were the first big paintings made by Mona Thrasher. Now she's well known as an artist, but in those days she was living in a bush with her parents, and she didn't know too much about painting. But Father Adam himself was an artist. He did some painting too, so he was able to guide her a little bit at the beginning anyways. She did most of them during the winter 1989-60, when the building was already covered. It was heated enough, so she did that inside the church, most of them. I mean the Way of the Cross.
Did she have any help?
No, except Father Adam himself, who, as I say, was an artist and guided her more or less, but otherwise she did that alone.
How many paintings in the church altogether?
We have an idea that there are 14 Stations of the Cross, and there are those 3 big paintings above the doors, and there are 2 other big paintings behind the altars. And so I would say about 20 paintings, pretty close. Yeah.
Father Adam, who was himself an artist, designed and made by hand the decorations and backdrop around the altar.
Father Adam had a lot to do with that part. You see, the design, the decorations, like Father Franchemont was more a builder with material, but Father Adam had ideas. So he was communicating his ideas to those who were building, like Brother Larocque and Father Franche. He didn't do except Father Adam did some of the work, like what you call a pewter. That was done by Father Adam. But otherwise, everything else was done by Brother Larocque and some of his helpers.
When the church was completed in the summer of 1960, the church was able to hold a maximum of 350 people. Father Rion remembers the day.
During the summer of 1960, if I remember, that was the 15th of August 1960, that Bishop Pichet came to bless the church, and we had a big celebration, of course, inside the church.
Since the opening of the Lady of Victory Church, there have been tourists coming from all over the world to view the church, which was built in the shape of an igloo. Father Ebner has given tours to many different people from both near and far. He says he enjoys having people come to visit, and he hopes they enjoy their stay. Is there tourists coming in all seasons of the year?
There is a little dribble in the wintertime, and that would probably be people who are coming in on some business rather than on a tourist tour. As soon as the warm weather arrives, of course, where they begin to flood in, not only by air but also by bus. And so the busiest time is actually in the summer.
Where do some of your tourists come from?
They come from all over. I haven't kept track and I haven't asked all the folks, but some from Europe, and I remember some from Australia this last summer, and but from all over. I haven't asked the folks again from what particular province they may come, because they arrive by busloads, and I'm not quite sure from, I suppose Alberta and BC would probably be those from whom most of the people come.
What is it that attracts the tourists to the Igloo Church?
Some like to see the, they find the graceful lines interesting, the unique style. Others may be interested in also in the manner of construction, because again it is a little bit unique, and they may particularly want to go upstairs then to see the arches and all of that sort of thing. And most everybody also is interested in the paintings of Mona Thrasher. She painted the Stations of the Cross here, and they find that very interesting.
Who conducts the tours in the church?
Some people may come in by themselves and just want to browse quietly. Some come to look and pray. Some come and may call for us to show them around the place, and we'll tell them a little story about other things too. And many people come on formal tours, maybe by bus, and they generally have a tour guide, and the tour guides know about the place, and they take the people in and even upstairs. So it differs depending upon the group and the people.
Do you work at all with the Inuvik Tourist Center?
We, in so much as if they want to get into the building and they happen to be locked at the time, or if they want some information that about the place that they haven't had before, or if they have somebody coming at a particular time and they want us to be present for a reason. But most of the time, the tour guides, being well acquainted with the situation, take care of themselves and the people.
What information do you give the tourists when they come to the church?
They may ask about a lot of things other than the church itself. And if they are new, we may tell them a few things about Kinsey River, how big it is, and where we are. And the details that I have picked up since I have been here about the size of the church itself and how it was made. And generally, I try to encourage people, if they've come this far, no matter from where, to go on a little further, and they might as well see the rest, like Aklavik and Tuck, and because they're so close, and they might as well see all that we have up there here for them to see.
Do you get any letters from different countries about the Igloo Church?
Since I have been here, a few. The people may write and say like at Christmas time or at other times, and say, we happened to visit your Igloo Church when we were in Inuvik, and they may send a picture of themselves or themselves in front of the church, or but saying that they appreciate their little visit and the stop, and the fact that we spent a little time with them. So the odd letter comes from here and there.
Do you think that the church always was a tourist attraction ever since it was built?
My impression is that it has been. Of course, I've only been here since last February, but I have been in other postings previous to coming here, and people that would come through would say if they had been here that they had made it a point to see the church for sure while they were here. So I would say that's definitely a tourist attraction.
Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Father Adam wished at the time that we had a bigger church, but I think that it's quite big enough. There was a time it seemed that we had perhaps more people coming to church, but I hear that we are quite happy with the size of the building, and so we are quite happy with the church, and I'm sure that it's where it's not only the Catholic Church, but the people of Inuvik were happy to have such a church, which, as you know, is well known not only in Canada, but even all over the world. I remember reading in a magazine printed in Japan about this church, and many articles everywhere in Europe, everywhere. I don't know why. It's probably because it's a special design.
Yeah, it's unique in the design.
Do you have anything you'd like to add?
Well, right offhand, we enjoyed having the visitors. We hope they enjoy their tour in Inuvik, and if anyone comes, they're certainly free to call us at any time, day or night, if they'd like to look around, and they seem to appreciate it, and we enjoy having them come and help them have a good visit to Inuvik.
Thank you.
You're welcome.